Brace yourself for Monday morning, November 17th, because this isn't just another open. I believe it could mark the beginning of a major upside surge. The winds of change aren't just blowing, money is repositioning, sentiment is flipping, and the biggest catalyst of all is about to drop. If you're ready, we're going to ride the wave because this time the move will be absolutely massive. Over the last couple days, the market has been in a tightening phase, as we could see here. There's been lower volatility, momentum has been paused, and valuations are very stretched. But those are the conditions that precede big drop breakouts. Now we're heading into the perfect alignment. As we see the holiday season, there's usually tailwinds coming with the last week of the year. November tends to favor the bulls, as we've seen in the past. In fact, history shows November is frequently one of the strongest months for stocks. It's easy to get excited by the seasonal momentum. Many people feel tempted to invest more boldly, hoping to ride the so-called holiday rally. Not only this, but we see the upcoming earnings events such as Nvidia that could reignite the AI trade in a big way, in my opinion. I think Nvidia is one of the main stocks that has been driving the market, and of course, it's the biggest stock on the market. So once we see news on that, there will be more movement in the market. Not only this, but the capital flows have been shifting. We have seen a huge move from domestic funds that have rotated out of emerging markets and rotating into US equities. So Monday, in my opinion, isn't just another day. It has the potential to set the tone for the next leg of a big rally and for the rest of the week. It's one of the main things, as I mentioned earlier, is that Nvidia is set to report after market close on Wednesday, November 19th, and they have expectations with analysts forecasting earnings per share around $1.25 and revenue near $55 billion. Analysts expect this type of revenue and earnings per share, which is very high year over year, with the data center business and AI infrastructure being the key driver. A top tech investor says that the market is underestimating Nvidia's potential, especially with it coming to Blackwell and Rubin's platforms and massive AI infrastructure demand. When a company like Nvidia can beat and raise guidance, it doesn't just move the market, it doesn't just move itself, it moves the entire market. It moves the entire segment, entire AI and tech market. That becomes a giant tailwind for Monday and the rest of the week. So not only this, but we've seen the US stock fund inflows remain strong. Domestic allocations are rising, which supports equities broadly. As we could see here, the whole week was kind of down on a downtrend with the inflows, but then we saw a big shift on Friday, which, as we saw, emerging markets have been carrying trades and valuations that are very under pressure, which often triggers rotation back into US equities when global capital seems safer on or higher returns, which we can see in the US market. And I think we're going to see in the next coming months seasonal growth inside of the market, especially with November and December being historically strong for the stock market. Fund managers chasing performance as year end approaches will be focusing on the US market and focusing their allocations into the market, which I think will cause us to see a gap up in the stocks. Not only this, but the recent government shutdown is nearing resolution. We've seen this as one of the main drivers inside of the stocks, and optimism is creeping back into markets. As we've seen by the market, we've seen that key indexes are holding up very strongly, and they're setting up almost for a breakout. And not only this, but there's a lot of room for upside if results or data come in stronger. As we see here, tomorrow we have the New York Empire State Manufacturing Index, and we have some of the bill auctions going on, which will be key drivers in the market. And I think it's just following a downtrend like this, we're going to see an inflow into the market. So here's how I see Monday playing out if the bull case happens. So expect major indexes such as SPY, QQQ to open green, potentially 0.9% to 1.8%, which would land us right in this range here and out of the gate. When futures reflect the upcoming Nvidia anticipation and flow rotation, the open can get a very huge head start. There will be sharp bid accumulation, especially in tech and AI names. Some of the main ones that I'm looking at is momentum stocks, like that have high betas. Some of the ones that are coming to my mind right off the bat is stocks like Nebius Group, which has been trading very much so down over the last couple days, and it's very high momentum AI suppliers and semiconductors, which will benefit the most from the news we're going to get in the coming days. Not only this, but the hedge fund and option dealers unwind amplifies the upward move. This is where the big gaps can accelerate into trends that last for many days. It may begin in tech, and then I think the acceleration inside of the market will happen once we see higher adoption across the whole market. So we'll see industrials, financials, energy, small caps all joining the party. With Nvidia raising the roof, expect the supply chain such as chips, servers, AI, all this stuff to raise likewise. Because this all follows a certain pattern that kind of follows Nvidia recently, because Nvidia's it's a powerhouse on the market, and these types of moves will really cause the market to change. After the initial pop, I think on Monday we'll see a little bit of a pullback, and shallow and quick, but it will be bought up very quickly, which will lead to a liquidity build. That means momentum funds will lean in, and by late morning, you could have a clear trend established, and the rest of the day becomes a kind of buy the dip environment where every dip kind of gets bought up. For me personally, I'm not just optimistic. I think we're at a genuine inflection point with Nvidia about to beat and deserve and give a raise on earnings. I think it's going to reignite the AI growth narrative, and we've seen the capital flows are very much so aligned with this type of narrative, and we've seen this with the money moving wants to move, and there's a lot of cash on hand by a lot of fund managers, and US equities are in the sweet spot right now where sentiment is very much so leaning cautiously, as we see on the fear and greed index. It's extreme fear, but as I've always said in the past, a lot of great investors have said this too: when people are scared, you want to be greedy, and when people are greedy, you want to be scared. And I think this is one of those opportunities where we've seen from the consolidation and all the recent news and what's going to happen next week. I think this could be a next leg up in the market that carries into the rest of the year. So, my opinion, if the open gaps up green, then rotate into small and mid caps in growth and AI, supply chain names such as NBIS, such as IREN, some big names like that. And then if the open is flat or red on any sort of the indexes, then don't chase it. Wait for confirmation later in the day, because the week's still very alive and there's still a lot of news to unpack. Because early day liquidity is very low. Consider smaller size and larger stop discipline. But some of the main things I'm going to be watching very closely is obviously this Nvidia earnings. And if they beat and raise, I think this week's open may just be the beginning. And so that's why I'm going to be watching these types of stocks. But personally, I am positioning myself for upside. I expect Monday to pop very early, then some consolidation, then a move higher throughout the week. I'm not expecting a smooth ride all the way throughout. There will obviously be whipsaws, but the directional bias is clearly upward in my view. If you've been sitting on cash or on the sidelines waiting for the big pullback, I'd argue that the opportunity to position is now. And if you wait too long, you might miss the opening leg. So here are the final bullet points that I have. There is obviously, there's no downside. It can only be good. But realistically, the catalyst trifecta is complete. We have major earnings of Nvidia, we have flow rotation, and we have seasonality. Monday morning could ignite the move, so be ready. If the market confirms the break, the rest of the week should accelerate the stock market. And prepare, but manage your risk and act when the signal shows up, not when you hope it kind of will. So let's be smart and let's ride this wave. The move will be absolutely massive. So I'll see you guys at the open. I appreciate you guys for watching. Take care, peace, like and subscribe. Bye.